I was in the water, freezing cold, ice melt river coming off the mountains, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Get the Shot, brought to you by Tamron Australia. My name is Joe Orchard. I am here today with Denis Smith. Have you ever met a Denis that's not a menace?
Well, apparently, if the label fits, you'll wear it, mate. That's the one.
That's true. No, Denis is far from a menace. He is super lovely. He is a brilliant photographer doing light art. As you can see from all the images that are playing as I'm speaking, all of these images are taken in camera, and I can't wait to sort of talk about all of that, the photography journey. Denis, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, Joe, what a buzz. Yeah, it's always nice to hang out with your crew and yourself. It's nice to meet you. And talk about art, man. I'm in my wheelhouse, in my happy place if we're talking about photography.
For someone who's unfamiliar with what light photography actually is, do you mind explaining how it all works and what it is?
Totally. So light painting as a genre of photography is basically, the best way to think about it is this. Anyone that's had to go at long exposure photography has pointed a camera at cars as the cars go past, and you get those streaks of light from the headlights and the tail lights. Fundamentally, that's what we're doing with light painting photography, but we use light sources. Of course, I'm really prepared here. I should have one in my hand. Give me 2 ticks. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So the way to think about it is this, is we have these tools. So I've just turned that off and on, and you can see that these are a kind of a yellow color and a purple color. And basically it's light painting. So think of this as a brush, and then the dark is our canvas. I know it's a bit cliche, but so basically all we're doing is we are moving light through a scene during a long exposure, and we capture the trail of that light to create work. So that's one way. And then the other way is we use a light source to actually illuminate a scene. So if you think of a landscape or let's say a tree with some grass, and you start your exposure and it's dark, we go into the scene with a light source, and we use light to light up the scene, and it brings it into the image. So those are the 2 fundamental ways of light painting. But the beautiful thing about it is you can do it here in my studio. I do a lot, but my real passion is taking these light sculptures and take them out into the landscape. So, and then really long exposures with a moon and it looks like daylight and all of that. But as you say, here's the kicker. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what light painting is and isn't. And the reality is it's whatever you want it to be. It's art, right? But I'm pretty old school in light painting, and there's a thought, a kind of an idea that we have that I think is really powerful, and that is that the real skill is capturing these images in one exposure. So you open the shutter, you capture the image, you look on the back of the camera, and that's the light painting. And for me, what is powerful about that is that when you look at a piece of work I've made, you know it's real. And it's really timely, because for 15 years for me, but for 20 years, people have been light painting, and there was never any question. Back in the old days, there was like, oh, it's all Photoshop, and we're like, yeah, nah. But of course, today, we're in this time where you don't know what you're looking at. You have no idea if it's real, and you get people making like 1, 2, 3, 4, 20 exposures and blending them in Photoshop. If you look at an image that I've made, and you've got any camera that can do bulb mode, you can go out and be a light painter, and that's all that matters to me.
You've got a collection that is quite striking, and our marketing team have been looking at it all day, like yesterday in particular, when I told them I was speaking to you. Your ball of light work in particular, it's like sci-fi, it's so cool, and you go to these landscapes that you can recognize it as Australia or wherever it may be, but it still doesn't quite look like it's on Earth. And so Where did you get inspired to do the ball of light?
So early on, so my photography journey started pretty late. So I was 36 and I started making photos in the Barossa Valley here of the landscape, and I thought I was Ansel Adams. I thought I was the greatest photographer ever born. And then went on to Flickr, which back then, still now, but went on to Flickr and realized that, I had a bit to learn. But in mincing around on Flickr, I discovered this thing called light painting. And it was wild. I go back now, because you can go back I've got goosebumps thinking about what it was like. Like, you can go back now to the early days of the big light painting groups on Flickr, and it was like the wild west of photography. It was crazy. And then one day, up on the screen came this orb, and there was someone making this orb, and for some reason, I just gravitated to it, right? I think some people, when they associate me with the ball of light, they think that like, this is not my thing, like nothing. There is no art or no light painting really that is unique. So I discovered this orb, and there were more of them and more of them. And what happened is there was this group of us, like a small group, maybe 10 of us, that just started this wild sort of, you think of it as a competition, but it wasn't. We were just pushing each other to take this orb and do crazy things with it. But what I did that was a bit special is I started taking it out into the landscape under a full moon. And so you do a long exposure under a full moon, and you get these images that look like daylight. Like, it's crazy. You look at them, and so that's what messes with the mind, is you look at it and you go, oh wow, okay, here's this landscape and there's this thing. It can't be real because, of course, you've just imposed it in Photoshop or whatever. Yeah, and that was really where my crazy journey started, was taking this idea of this ball of light, this orb, and seeing where I could put it in different places here in Australia. And then I don't use the word lucky very much, but luckily I have been able to go to some quite remarkable places around the world and insert this orb, which is great.
I think it's quite amazing as well. On your YouTube page, you have a very, very popular video where it's a tutorial about how to do the ball of light.
Yeah.
Why did you... It's sort of your secret and your trademark now, I guess to say. Why did you feel a need to then teach it and share it?
Something... Yeah, it's a great question, actually, because the answer to that question changes over time. I dip into many, many, many genres of light painting, right? So there's pretty much nothing that exists that I haven't had a go at, tried to become proficient at. And there is this just complete and utter joy that exists inside of me when I light paint. And over the years, I've held workshops for thousands of people in some of the most amazing locations. And there is this energy that I see come from people when I watch them have the joy of making light painting images. There is some power that exists in that moment. And all I have ever wanted is for every single person that has the ability to put a camera on a tripod or the ground and go out and have a go at light painting. I just want everyone to feel that joy. And if I can share as much as I can about the process, most importantly, just instill in people that you don't need a fancy camera, you don't need fancy gear. You can literally make, and there's many videos on my YouTube channel, you can make a light painting image with a glass bottle, a $3 torch from Bunnings, and some duct tape, right? And that will produce often. There's a video that on my YouTube channel where I show you how to make a ball of light tool with about $5 worth of Christmas lights. Like, you don't need fancy gear. And mate, it's as simple as that for me. The more information that I can share and give out about all the techniques that I do, the more chance there is people will go out and feel that joy that I feel.
Do you have a photo in your collection or something that you've taken that resonates with you still now today?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's there's many. The amazing thing is that if I think about the three images maybe that are the most precious to me, the ones that I look at and they either make me feel like I feel now, like quite emotional, or the sense of joy, right? The amazing thing is the reason that they are so special has nothing to do with the pixels that you see. It's the three dimensions. It's the depth that you get. It's the depth you get from knowing the story. And for me, each of those images that are really special to me, they're special because of where I was, who I was with, the ridiculous journey to get there, or whatever. But there is, there's a couple. There's one at Lake Mungo that I made quite recently, actually, that I think of now as so far being my favorite ball of light image. And it was technically challenging. It was an epic trip to get there, but just round the corner was a guy, a very, very, very close friend of mine who I'd not seen for a long time, and we were having just the most beautiful moment together. So I connected that to it. There's one that I've made. There's a ball of light that I've made where I was in this sort of crazy, wild period of quite deep pain. And pushed myself to go out, and I remember now spinning it, because there's this, when you're making the image, you're spinning light and I'm inside it, so I'm wrapping myself in light, like, and I sometimes think of it as like this protective shield. And I remember that day looking down and just being really focused. It's this rhythmic meditative thing, and just having this quite deep feeling of everything's going to be okay, man, like it's okay.
I'm picking up quite a bit that, you know, you're quite an emotional person, and you get really into your photography for not just an artistic pursuit, but like a real personal mental health thing as well. What's your journey with all of that been?
Yeah, so it's in 2008 I was in New Zealand working in a very high-end sort of corporate sales role, and it was during the GFC, which seems to have kind of partially missed Australia, but it slammed into Auckland like a freight train. And I was in a very high end corporate sales job, living on alcohol and Red Bull and all the bad shit, and had a really serious nervous breakdown, and was it was just awful situation. And my gorgeous wife, who's from Australia, was with me. And she scooped me up off the floor, and we sold everything and came to Australia. And that's when I bought a little camera, right? My little 450D, which is just there. And picking up a camera, discovering at such a late age, sort of this beautiful thing that is photography, really helped me to heal. It helped me to get out of myself. I discovered the landscape, for crying out loud, and photography became my pathway to healing, right? I was a pretty highly functioning alcoholic, and woke up one morning or woke up one day and kind of went, yeah, I need to be getting in the car at night and going out to do this thing. And I was drinking and driving, and so literally overnight, I stopped drinking. So that was, I gave up alcohol as a way to keep light painting. So that was pretty positive. That was 15 years ago. But yeah, I truly, genuinely believe that all art, right? All art, all pursuits, whether it's gardening, painting, photography, walking, there's something that happens when you get into a flow, and you make a connection, and you make it a practice where you do these things, and you can really use these things to be really positive for mental health. I mean, we know that's a fact, but for me, that's been my journey. I still battle pretty comprehensive mental health issues, and I still use I went out on Saturday night with a couple of mates into the city with some cameras, and we just hung out and we didn't really have a goal. But I remember waking up in the morning and just feeling warm inside of me, just.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, man, I feel very passionate about it. Very, very, very deeply passionate about the connection between photography and positive mental health. And I'm on a bit of a mission actually with that.
Oh yeah, that's really good to hear. evidently also quite patient, because light photography and light art, you know, it's dark. You're in the middle of nowhere in nature, and you know the exposure 60 seconds and all that sort of stuff. Where did you develop your patience, or are you just that zen?
It's interesting, hey, like, it's really interesting, Joe. Like, it's funny because I don't really sort of think about it that way. It's funny. Yes, you need to be. So I'll give you an idea. So my average exposure is 3 to 5 minutes, right?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
right.
and here's a good way to think about it. So when I'm making a ball of light image, I'm only in there for like 60 seconds doing the spin, and then I walk out of the scene, and often I'll leave the exposure going. And I have always thought of that time, that moment of waiting. I'm either there, if I'm there with someone, we get to hang out and chat. But if I'm alone, that's my chance to meditate. Like, that's when I take my time, and not so much these days. In the old days, you'd hear a click and you knew it was over. But no, I find those times, whether it's waiting for the sun to piss off and it to get dark, or walking to somewhere, or driving, I find all those times, that's the moment where I get to relax and chill and take that time that I enjoy so much. The patience comes actually in some nights you go out and it's not quite working, right? I think there's this misconception, and that when you look at my Instagram feed, which is a tiny little thing now, that's a whole nother story, you see the best of the best. So some nights I'll go out and I'll make 20, 30, 40 images and come back with nothing, or maybe one. That's where the patience comes in, is just accepting that it's not always going to be good. And if you make it about the experience, then you don't really need to be patient. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that was a roundabout way of saying I love it all.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough. Your art blurs the line from photography and performance art. Do you see yourself as a photographer, artist, performer?
Who's ever asked me that question? That's brilliant. Yeah, okay. So I've just come back from BFOP, right? So the BFOP festival, and there is a moment. So I was in the water. They wanted me to do something special this year, and we're very quick with coming up with the idea that you should get into the freezing cold ice melt river coming off the mountains and do my liquid light work, right? And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do that. So I was in the water I do this thing called liquid light, which is light painting in and out of the water. And there were 500 plus people at the festival, and they were doing a walk around town, and they'd come past the river, pop their cameras onto tripod and make images of me in the water. And so in that instance, you're right. That is performance art, because yes, they get an image, but I think what people find the most fascinating is the process. Like, if you see someone in the water thrashing around like they're having a fit, you know, that certainly is bizarre, exciting, interesting if you're a photographer. So yeah, there's definitely an element of that. But yeah, there are times when I'm absolutely think of myself as an artist, solely and singularly, because what I'm always doing is making work that tries to tell a story, tries to be emotive, tries to make someone feel something. That's always the goal for me. And it's not always you, the viewer. It's often me. The images that really matter to me are the ones that I look at. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, these goosebumps are going to be embedded into my arm today. It's the images that I look at and it makes me feel something heavy. They're the ones that I think of as being art, right? A lot of it is, and then you have the instructional stuff, right? So there's a lot of images I make that really all that matters is that you look at it and you go, yes, I can achieve that. I can make that. But yeah, massive amount of what I do is actually, you would think of as performance art, because I'm trying to stimulate the person watching to feel something, so they might want to have a go. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
But yeah,
that's sort of,
being in the water, being in the river at Bright, and up on the stage, we did another thing where we did this epic light painting portrait thing. All of it, really. Yeah, so that's an interesting way to think about it.
if you're enjoying listening to the podcast so far, then consider liking and subscribing. Do you have a story to tell? If you go to tamron.com.au and tell us your photography story, we may even feature one of our articles. That's tamron.com.au. Teaching. So it's not just YouTube video tutorials. You've done heaps of teaching and workshops.
Yeah.
What led you down that path in your career?
Yeah, it was, I tell you what happened. So early on, okay, again, something I haven't talked about a lot, but yeah, we live in this crazy time, right? Where the experience is the thing, because it's so easy to actually make work. And I early on realized that the skills that I had learned over many years of working in sales and running businesses where communication is important, having the confidence to stand up and talk to groups of people and share what you know, that was a skill that I kind of had. And I did this early crazy thing where I did this sort of presentation / demonstration, and it went berserk, like totally crazy how many people were there, and I kind of got the bug. And so yeah, I taught myself the skills required to become confident in delivering to a room. I had some very early international attention, and so I had the opportunity many times to travel internationally and both make work and also to teach internationally. That was always a real buzz. So what I did is I started combining this, and I think a lot of people that we know mutually who teach workshops realize this, the power of the ability to, if I can travel somewhere and combine teaching and workshops with going to somewhere I'd love to go, that's really powerful, because then we get to make work in beautiful places. But yeah, there's nothing I enjoy more really than a room full of people who I'm teaching how to do light painting. But I also teach a lot of other stuff, but the core of it is always around light painting. Sharing is very powerful for me. I love it.
How do you go with the business side of your work? So you're connecting with people, you're doing all these workshops. I can imagine sitting behind your laptop and crunching numbers is agony for you.
Well, okay. Like I say, I'm very open and honest, right? Running a business around anything creative is a nightmare. It is hard work. There is this real difficult, anyone that would consider themselves to be an artist or a creative who then goes to try and run a business, the two are not automatically cohesive, right?
Yeah.
I had a long background in sales, marketing, and being around business. So because I did that first and then became an artist, it was a lot easier for me, right? But it was still really hard.
Yeah.
And I think I do actually, I don't talk about it a lot, but I do and have many times had the opportunity to I suppose, teach small business owners and creatives how to run a business. But I'm also brutally honest that a month ago I closed my video and photography production company after 14 years for a couple of reasons, but a big part of that is a shifting market, a shifting business. We now, if you're a filmmaker or video producer, right, commercially, you got a whole bunch of 20-year-olds running around with Sony A7S3s and a gimbal, and so yeah, and some pretty high-end editing skills and crazy DJI mics that float, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to be, as an older guy, like I'm 54 now, if you want to be in that space, you got to be either have something really special or be willing to go to battle with you in order to get that work right. And I have a lot of respect for the market. There's a lot of people in my position who bitch and moan and whine because it's oh so hard and hard for them. They don't understand business. They don't understand what it means to... I mean, COVID was a perfect example, right? Everyone was an entrepreneur and a creative and a filmmaker and a photographer until COVID hit, right? Then you start to figure out really who had their shit together. And that's when you discover who is an entrepreneur, right? Because when you're a small business owner, you must be an entrepreneur. Like, I'll give you an idea. I had 3 months ago, I had a video and stills production company. I had a company that manufactured and exported light painting tools. I had a business that did light painting training. My wife and I have 2 other businesses. So, you're juggling a whole lot of different things in order to keep the mortgage paid. And the wild thing is we are going into this landscape now where more than ever, there is nothing more important. If you are a creative, I don't care how old you are, how long you've been in business, that you need to ramp up those skills and ramp up those abilities that have nothing to do with making an image, even more than ever. Because what will save you from the oncoming onslaught of AI is being a good human, being good at communicating, delivering something to your client that is way more important than a good image, and that is being a human.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and whether you use that or not, it's a complicated time, and I'm brutal about it, man. I have some quite controversial views on AI in art, and AI in business, and AI in life, and it gets people stirred up. Maybe that's another podcast for another time.
No, I appreciate you bringing all that up, and I'll tell you a little bit about me and my history just for a bit of relevance.
Yeah.
Before working here with Tamron and Blonde Robot, I was doing a lot of freelance videography. And in terms of hours per month for what I was earning with like 2 or 3 retainers, it actually wasn't too much. And so I was doing pretty well for myself. And it was actually not fulfilling. It felt nice it always feels nice when money hits the bank account, but I had no community. Like, I was just emailing some people every now and then I'd be trying to find other work, but then all of this stuff was just social media video and it's client work, and it didn't really feel too artsy or fulfilling my creative needs. And so over time, I just sort of wrapped it up, and that's sort of, I want to connect with people. I want to tell stories. And that's where, as soon as I started here, I was like, podcast.
Oh, yeah,
and
man.
then we eventually figured out this. And so we're really happy. And it's more that I'm really happy and personally quite fulfilled doing this. And so
I think someone like yourself, if you can wake up one morning and come to that realization that the word fulfilling, right? If you can wake up one morning and go, yeah, this is not fulfilling me. I'm not getting to the end of the day and feeling like I've actually added something to the world. That's a powerful thing, and to do it at a younger age is really powerful, because it'll kill you in the end. Because I'm telling you right now, brother, I know this deeper than anyone. I can sit at my computer and generate shit in AI software that is super remarkable. And anyone who thinks for 1 second that your role as a photographer, commercially, as a photographer or as a filmmaker, you need to pull your head out your ass and go get a job in a chicken shop, because you ain't going to have a job in 2 years unless you are making something that is utterly, completely remarkable, and backing that shit up with being an incredible human that delivers solutions to people. And it is, I think it's powerful, man. My goal is to do my new thing. Like I'm studying. In 2 months' time, I'll be a qualified counselor, and I will be working as a mental health therapist. trying to stop people from taking their own lives. And I believe that AI will never replace the connection, the energy, the power that can exist between two humans, whether it's like this, you and me, or in person in a room. And that connection, that power, that transfer of energy that can happen. Yeah, the goose, this is crazy.
I've got them myself, don't worry. Yeah.
But this connection, right? That transfer of energy that happens between people will never be replaced by a machine, ever be replaced by a machine. So when I'm, especially with my light painting, if I'm wrapping you with light in a portrait, or I'm sharing how to do something with you, or we are sitting talking about the pain that exists in your life, and I am lighting a path for you to walk through it, you can't replace that with a robot. And I think it's I'm so pleased that the next 20 years of my life is going to be that thing. I hope. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on your studies and becoming a counsellor. That's really, really amazing for you. In this new career journey, where does photography and your art fit amongst all of that?
Yeah, so my passion is art therapy and art as therapy. And I developed a program a few years ago working with veterans and first responders with PTSD. And we developed a photography course, or a program, seven session program, as a pilot that had great success. And so this is evidence-based, and there's a lot of evidence globally that this connection between art and mental health. So my practice, my counseling practice, will become an art therapy practice. And we are developing, when I say we, me and we're developing a program where I will be taking people and showing them how a focused process of creating photography can help them have positive mental health outcomes. So my light painting and my photography will be a part of that process. I presented the idea to the full room at BFOT this year, and I gave them all a challenge. And a year from that day, I'm going to be checking in on them with that challenge, and they were all pretty. It felt amazing.
Oh, that's really awesome to hear, Dennis. Unfortunately, we are at the time where we have to wrap this up.
Thank you.
I didn't expect that at 10, 11 in the morning, I was going to have such a emotional conversation with you or anything like that. And I think your message and what you believe in and stand for is going to connect with a lot of people. And I really thank you for your time today. I know you don't do this too often, so it really means it to me and the audience that you've come and joined us here today.
Amazing.
So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, we I just want to have fun. We just do it every day. Just try and end the day having a laugh and having a bit of fun and having some energy. And I really appreciate the opportunity to chat about it. It's always a joy with and thanks, Joe. I appreciate it heaps. Thank you. And I hope everyone can sort of feel it.
You're the best, Dennis.
Amazing.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time.